I remember one time I was in a certain part of Ghana, and there was this boy who had impregnated 3 girls and didn't find anything wrong. And this woman who had invited me to the church to speak told me that she lives in the same compound house with this young man. And then he spoke the native language of the place. I won't talk about it, otherwise people will know where this person is coming from. And when I had a chat with him on the Monday, I assured him that Tuesday I'll come very early so we can talk. So I meet him on Tuesday before the service, and he looked at me and said, "Lord, he doesn't see the hullabaloo of what they're talking about. The reason is that his father impregnated 14 women and never married one."
Oh my God.
He hit his chest with all his 5 fingers like this. My own, only 1, 2, and 3.
My father,
and
14.
And they are making such a huge, issue out of 3. My father had 14. Of course, there you can see that he's trying to mimic or role play his father's thing, but he needs to get somebody to redirect him. And thankfully, we were able to do that whilst we were there that whole week when I was ministering. And he attended all the services until Sunday, because he realized that here was someone who's not going to condemn him, judge him, or throw him over the cliff.
Yeah.
But I'm here to walk with him as a matured man who knows the way to go and tap into God's grace to guide him along. That's what people are looking for. Too many men,
chastising and all
too many men are being fixed. They are being corrected, and they are seen as a problem to be solved. And so we're losing our men. Yeah. If you do that to a man, you lose him. The man needs someone to walk side by side with him as a brother in arms.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Someone that he can call a brother, and then he opens up. Because men relate around activities. Women don't need activity to relate. So when you look at women's platforms, they just talk because they need to talk. There's something to discuss.
Yeah.
A man will talk around, say, football. Politics, the girls, the food, the joints,
the makeup,
all those kinds of things. That's how. So as they talk around issues, some of them are able to open up, then you have access to them.
The Spotlight Show.
Viewers and listeners, welcome to the Spotlight Show. Many are the episodes we've shot, and I believe that by now you have subscribed and you have watched almost, if not all. So today is Valentine's Day, or we are in the month of Valentine, and we want to talk about the myth, the relevance, the irrelevance of Valentine, what to expect as a single person and somebody who is dating or who is married. So with me here, I have one renowned counselor, teacher, mentor. He is in the person of Elder Amos Kelvin Annan. Help me welcome him to the Spotlight Show.
Well, it is said that if you know somebody already in the evenings or in the night or in the dark, you don't turn on any lamp or light to look at their faces. So that's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Welcome once again to the
Thank you very much.
Show.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. I hope that whatever we share will bless your people.
Definitely. All that is Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Well, I chose my outfit.
You look amazing.
Somewhat
I think we are matching colors.
Yes. I added black for a good reason.
Yes. I can see the inscriptions in the t-shirt. Can you please?
Well, I saw the inscription, which is the 3LC, which is the Leadership and Legacy Camp for Girls, which we're introducing this year.
Yeah.
We started with the Brave Boys Boot Camp, which is targeting boys from age 8 up to 22. Now we have the 3LC, which focuses on leadership, how to groom and guide these young ones to be ladies. We're losing ladies in the land. We're also focusing on leadership because we want them to lead themselves, not to be led by their friends. then it's legacy because we want them to think beyond today. That everything you do, everything you say will be there waiting for you as you grow. Because they are digital natives. And so they are spending an awful lot of time on social media or using technology. And therefore, we need to prepare them with the mindset, the motivation, and the manners relating to this.
Wow.
So we're looking beyond just church life, which is, it's easy to say you are Christian. So you speak Christianese, as they say. And a lot of slogans here and there, but we are staying away from that and getting these young girls to see life as it should be, because God has given you all that pertains to life and godliness.
So, Elder, when it comes to relationships, the girls and the boys, or the women and the men, the ladies and the gentlemen, who actually loses him or herself first?
Well, I think that it all depends on the particular relationship you're looking at. Many a time individuals lose themselves, whether males or females. But I see that because women tend to operate from the emotional side, they are profoundly hit in the heart and in their emotions. Now, the young men largely operate from a logical, sequential space. So they add 1 and 2, 3 and 4. The ladies give their heart. Then when things are not going well, they start adding 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then that portends crisis. So if you look at it on the general score of things, you would say a lot more females are losing themselves and becoming a headache for them as they build these relationships.
You see, in as much as I'm very, very much interested in the women's camp, in terms of your girls' camp, okay, I'm more interested in the men or the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think their perspective when it comes to relationship, marriage, needs to be recycled. Lack of a better word.
We need to reset it.
Yes, reset it. So, I mean, when it comes to your boot camp, what are some of the things that is it a season or it's the number of days that they
Okay, so this is what we do. We started off, the first boot camp was 7 days.
Okay.
The second boot camp was 5 days. This third one is also going to be 5 days. At the boot camp, we focus on sexuality.
Sexuality.
We focus on masculinity. We also discuss integrity.
Very important.
And we get these boys this year to focus on service, which is community.
Community service.
Yes, community service. So they'll be going to a place where the people there are really not what you call your regular people. They are special, unique in their, either neurodiverse or some kind of other young people. We want to expose them to this so that they don't stay in this culture of entitlement. And many of them are spoiled with choice. There are so many toys, they don't even know which one to play with, and they still want some more. But when they interact with young people like themselves, who are not in the place where they are and are making do with the very basics of life, and they come across as very appreciative of what life has given them, what I call the privilege of living, it will change the way they think. Because we have seen, I remember the first boot camp in 2024, a young boy comes in, age 8. He was the youngest in the camp. And this is a boy who has never washed even a handkerchief before. And our policy is that for every 10 boys, they have 2 chaperones. So every 10 boys, 2 chaperones. They sit with them at meals. They work with them the whole of the period of the camp and beyond the camp, because they establish relationship with families and parents so that they would also follow up on how the boys are doing. Yeah. And this boy we have what we call the commissioning service, and that's the time the boys pledge virginity. For me, it's
virginity in this era.
Yeah. It's a serious conversation in the conversation around sexuality. And my story. I share my story. At age 30 plus, I was a virgin, and so I believe that it is possible and it's doable if we start from very young age. And I committed myself to staying as a virgin at age 10. And so if I could stay 20 plus years on that and not lose it, it means that every young boy given the opportunity and proper guidance and coaching and mentorship can also do that. Oftentimes the narrative is that the girls should keep their virginity. What about the boys? I'm not one who thinks that the girls should be virgins and the boys can just be sleep around. And so we're breeding Casanovas in the land. They're just sleeping around. Everything they see, share. I call them that Pampana syndrome, but that's for another day. And so we discuss these tough questions and issues with the boys. And we bring parents in, and fathers in particular, to commit to raising the boys right. Because I look at my mother. My mother was a domestic manager. My wife is a corporate executive. Between the two, there's a different outlook. And if I marry my wife like my father did to my mom, I'll lose my marriage without blinking an eye. So we want these boys to know that there's a new woman on the block, and therefore we need to raise new boys who can live with these women. These are corporate executives. They are out there. They're go-getters. They're dreamers. They have ambition. They have a drive. They have all those things. How can they work together as helpmeet? And so that we reduce the tension and the stress and all these insanity that is going on in the land. And for me, it's crucial we start with the boys. And we have two conversations again in the Brave Boys Boot Camp. We call it Brave Boys for a good reason. Yes, it's very important. We raise brave hearts, because brave hearts show themselves in better behavior. It takes a brave heart to say no to wrong behavior. Invitation. I mean, the Bible tells us in Proverbs that if sinners entice you, say no.
No.
How do you say no? You say the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men, teaching us to say no. Again, it takes a brave heart to say no. So we need these boys to be brave at heart so that their habits will be good for society and community. Now, so there the fathers would also pledge their commitment to raising these boys. And we sign a contract with them. The boys sign their chastity commitment. Their fathers pledge to be there, present and participating, not just providing presents. Because a lot of fathers are prone to buying stuff and giving that to the children, but they are not present in the life of the children, and they are not participating in the growth of the child. So everything becomes mother's call.
Yeah.
And unfortunately also, we have women who have become overly powerful to the extent that they don't allow the men space to be part of the raising of the children. Because many of them have become like, I don't know how to describe them. They're too strong for my liking.
Oh, this one is going to be a debate. Because
No.
It's not about the fact that some of the women are posing as too powerful. Sometimes some of the women see that the men are not doing
they are
that
laid
much.
back.
Exactly.
So what we need to do is to take them case on case. Some women are powerful because they tell themselves they are alpha women.
That word.
They are there.
Empowerment.
I've seen a lot of those women out there. I've seen some women who are choleric, so they are drivers. They are go-getters. They are dreamers. They want to achieve targets. They are hitting the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
They're going up. Now, as they rise, they're dealing with men who feel threatened. Why should a man be threatened by the rise of the wife? So some of those men need to be worked on. That's why we're getting these boys. We have two conversations to address that issue. First, we have a conversation titled Relating with Your Sister and Younger Female Peers.
Wow.
It's a panel conversation. We bring young ladies to come and sit and talk to the boys.
Wow.
Yes, a panel of 3 generation of young ladies.
Yeah.
And it's a very deliberate conversation. We don't micromanage it. We tell the girls to talk to these boys and tell them what they need to hear, not what we want them to tell them. Then we have a second one, and that is for adults. 3 generation of women how to relate with your mother and a woman in authority over you. Because I see a lot of young men who are working in corporate spaces. Their bosses are females and they can't take it. I've sat with a lot of women. I mean, my work spans 36 years. So I've chatted with different kinds of women. And 75% of the people I sit with in conversation are females. So I have heard a lot from women. In fact, one year I dedicated my savings for an outing with 20 young ladies on a date. Yes, I did that. And to ask them questions about how they see men, what has been the experiences with men, starting from their fathers, starting from their lovers in school, their own brothers, if they had any. And I was amazed at the extent to which they were willing to share with me. And it was born out of trust. We went to a Chinese restaurant in Tema and a 3-course meal with dessert. I paid fully for that. The following year, I did another one for young men, 20 young men, carefully selected, so that I will share this with them.
So that it will not just
The idea is that you know that the women are processing some things about life and some of it affects you directly or indirectly. You know, and that is why we started these 2 very important conversations. And they are done on a day. So there's the side for the young ladies and then the side for the older women. And that is the time that these boys now have the opportunity to filter through all the nuggets that have come. And then they have their assignment. So they go to their room and they discuss what has happened. Every day, they do that debriefing. Every day. Aside their morning devotion and evening fireside, they have what we call fireside conversation. And the fireside is where they process everything that has happened in the day. And they inspect notes. I mean, the chaperones inspect your notes. They sign off your notes every day. And your parents will see that has happened. We're very serious. And this 8-year-old boy, when he came to the camp, he had never done any handkerchief. But by the time he was leaving camp, he could iron his shirt.
Wow. 7 days.
Yeah. Yes. He could iron his shirt.
7 days. But you see, Elder, you made mention about fathers pledging with their sons.
Yeah.
So what happens to the boys who do not have fathers?
No, that's why we use parents, because it's not just fathers.
Okay.
Those boys, we acknowledge that there are some boys who come to the camp. They've lost fathers. Like me, I've lost my father. I'm an orphan. I've lost both my father and my mother. So we also have guardians. Some of them have godparents.
Yeah.
Some even have big brothers who are cousins or uncles or persons who are older. Some have spiritual fathers or spiritual mothers who are taking care of them. So the 2024, it was for fathers, but we reviewed it and made it parents and guardians. So that it covers anyone who has responsibility over a boy.
So you know what? On this note, let's go for a commercial break.
Yes, please.
So the Spotlight Show is all about how God healed me through music. And I'm bringing this awareness to all my listeners and viewers that music has a huge toll on you. What you listen to impacts your spirit and soul. And it's not just about rhythm, it's not just about the beat, but it's about how the song ministers to you. So the Spotlight Show is about healing, it's about restoration, and it's about retrusting God that everything is just going to be fine. And it's also to create the awareness that you are what you listen to. So please stay tuned and you'll get to know more with the story that we share together. Thank you.
The Spotlight Show.
Viewers and listeners, welcome back to the Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Daniela, and with me is Elder Amos Kelvin Annan. Elder, in fact, I have gotten goosebumps with the information that you were giving me behind the scenes, that some men or some boys are falling in love with transgenders.
Yeah.
I mean, so what can we do to bring out our voice?
So you see, people should err on the side of abundant caution. I always say to people that there is what you know before you make a commitment to another, but there are the things you will discover.
It's scary.
It is scary, and that's why we should intentionally pray for our young ones, as well as also prepare them to face the uncertainness of what they are confronted with. This is what is happening on even campuses. In our part of the world, there's more of those who are bisexual, and they are the dominant ones. So they're having a thing with women and having a thing with men, and they're all over the place. And they are crossbreeding their kind and creating all sorts of problems health-wise, because cross-infecting people with all sorts of things at the risk of stigmatizing anybody. We know that the origins of even HIV and AIDS was within that kind of space, except that it has moved beyond them to others who are even heterosexual. Parents should model good example to their young people. They should also expose them to good company, godly ones at that. They should build good relationship with these young ones so that when someone approaches them and invites them into things that are unhelpful or potentially could be hurtful to these young people, they will voice out. The last thing a parent should never do is to mute the voice of your child. If the child doesn't have a voice to speak and to tell you things, with your ears listening, with the hope of understanding, not to react, but understanding what your child is telling you. If we don't have those kinds of parents, we're going to lose all our children. Because you see, what is happening is like water that is lukewarm. It doesn't portend any trouble. It's when it's hot and boiling that you're afraid of. But when the water is lukewarm, it is there and it's warming up gradually. I don't know if you've heard the story of the toad that was put in steaming water, and it was enjoying it until it got to the boiling point. You know, so that's what I am hoping that we'll be able to do. We should empower more parents to take the center stage as parents. If you choose to rely on, say, children workers or teachers, you lose it. There was a famous speaker who said that, George Herbert is his name, and he said that one father is better than 1,000 teachers. And I would say one parent is better than 1,000 teachers. So a parent's role in the life of a young person is indispensable. And we should not take it for granted. And particularly those of us who have the opportunity to interact with parents, whether within the church or within the neighborhood or community. This is the time for parents to form good strategic networks and support. I mean, I just got a call from a group that is called the Praying Husbands. This is the Praying Husbands.
Oh, okay.
I have been dealing with the praying wives for years. I mean, I've been to their retreats and all that. But this is the first time I have heard that there's a group called Praying Husbands. And I got this because, you know, since 2015, we've been running these mobilizing males programs where we bring fathers and sons to hear the same thing. And our focus there too is 3. Building brave, believable boys, grooming godly gentlemen, and mending mandated men. Those are the blocks.
Yeah.
And they all hear the same message, so that there's no missing links or gaps between what fathers know and sons know. Because like Jesus said, the son can do nothing except what he sees his father doing. You know, so the boys, when they are being raised by mothers, it's fantastic for them to have the motherly presence and input. But the trouble with that exclusively is that sometimes some of the boys become effeminized. So the element of masculinity is not manifested.
Mm.
And they are struggling. They are torn between manifesting the masculine traits and also what they admire in their mother, which is more a feminine side of things, begins to compete with those. So you see a lot of effeminate boys who became effeminate inadvertently.
But Elder, what can homes that there's divorce or there's some element of let's say dysfunctionality that bringing up such children, what should be done?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the element of dysfunctionality, it means that something is not going well as had been anticipated. Now, young boys and young people growing up in a divorce setting, it is not the ideal setting for them. So first and foremost, there must be an acknowledgement of the situation in which they find themselves. There should be no denial. We cannot wish it away. That's the reality. Now, having said that, the young person caught up in a divorce or dysfunctional situation should be taught to appreciate that though that has been their lot, they can turn things around for good.
Definitely.
You see, because sometimes people create the impression that when your parents have a dysfunctional marriage, then you would automatically become a dysfunctional child. No. I've seen boys and girls turn out beautifully, even from such very difficult circumstances. And I've also seen boys and girls who grew up within what quote unquote we call functional, and they have huge elements of dysfunctionality because they have dealt with internalizing of trauma. Which they haven't overcome. They have not made peace with their past, and therefore it's beginning to bite them as they grow. So something can be done for those boys, and they must be pointed to new models beyond their father and mother. And they should not be seeing themselves as necessarily a contributor to the problem. Because sometimes some of those young people feel guilty that what has happened may have been because of them. And they should not be bearing the brunt of parents' difficult situations. In fact, Christians will latch on the scripture where Jeremiah speaks and it says that the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth have been set on edge. So they say that the child will suffer the problems or the ills of the parents. No. Ezekiel, when he came back and he spoke, he says, in that day, the Lord was going to do certain things in the lives of the people of Israel. And that proverb that the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth have been set on edge will no longer hold sway. Unfortunately, people don't talk about that one. That is why he said that everybody shall account for their sin. Then he said, the soul that sinneth shall die. So I'm not responsible for my father's misdeeds. Neither would he be responsible for mine. Each of us must account for our own. And it's important that we groom and train the boys early enough for them not to carry the weight of parental challenges. Otherwise, most of these boys and girls, what they end up doing is that they recycle the parents' battle or they continue the parents' unfinished battle.
But don't you think what you're talking about has to do with spirituality in terms of maybe generational curse or,
I'm very hesitant to pronounce on matters of generational curses and all those things unless the Lord opens my eye to it. As a Christian thought leader, one of the things I very, very much am careful about is to make sweeping conclusions or generalized transpositions of ideas and thoughts. I look at situations. I know people who are dealing with things that can be called cyclical or generational. There are individuals that are also finding solace in that and not acting on what they must act on. So they become negligent on their own responsibilities. And I remember one time I was in a certain part of Ghana and there was this boy who had impregnated 3 girls and didn't find anything wrong. And this woman who had invited me to the church to speak told me that she lives in the same compound house with this young man. And then he spoke the native language of the place. I won't talk about it, otherwise people will know where this person is coming from. And when I had a chat with him on the Monday, I assured him that Tuesday I'll come very early so we can talk. So I meet him on Tuesday before the service, and he looked at me and said, Lord, he doesn't see the hullabaloo of what they're talking about. The reason is that his father impregnated 14 women and never married one.
Oh my God.
He hit his chest with all his 5 fingers like this. My own, only 1, 2, and 3.
My father,
and
14.
And they are making such a huge, issue out of 3. My father had 14. Of course, there you can see that he's trying to mimic or role play his father's thing, but he needs to get somebody to redirect him. And thankfully, we were able to do that whilst we were there that whole week when I was ministering. And he attended all the services until Sunday because he realized that here was someone who's not going to condemn him, judge him, or throw him over the cliff.
Yeah.
But I'm here to walk with him as a matured man who knows the way to go and tap into God's grace to guide him along. That's what people are looking for. Too many men,
chastising and all
too many men are being fixed. They are being corrected. And they are seen as a problem to be solved. And so we're losing our men. Yeah. If you do that to a man, you lose him. The man needs someone to walk side by side with him as a brother in arms.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Someone that he can call a brother, and then he opens up. Because men relate around activities. Women don't need activity to relate. So when you look at women's platforms, they just talk because they need to talk. There's something to discuss.
Yeah.
A man will talk around, say, football. Politics, the girls, the food, the joints,
the makeup,
all those kinds of things. That's how. So as they talk around issues, some of them are able to open up, then you have access to them. So typically when a woman drags her man to, say, counseling, to see the pastor, the man will be there, but he's a reluctant participant.
Very true.
He's going to be reluctant because, you see, he's coming from a place where he's been told that he has to be in charge and firm. And to be in control, you have to have it in your grip. So when a man is losing his sense of grip over something, his whole manhood and masculinity dies.
Ooh.
That's why we need to now teach our young boys a new biblical way of thinking about how Christ lived. Jesus was a lamb and a lion. When you read Revelations 5, you see how he's portrayed in verse 5 differently from in verse 6.
Yeah.
In one breath, he says the scrolls were to be opened and they didn't find anyone. And then he says, the angel tapped him and said, don't cry, for the Lion of the tribe of Judah has prevailed. Then down the line, it goes that the Lamb of God that was slain is gushing forth with blood, and that's for remission of sin. So Jesus was both a lamb and a lion. Now, why do you need that? And that's what we do in our men's gatherings and the Brave Boys meetings, to help these men to realize that as a man, you need courage, confidence, and character. That is what the lion stands for. You should be able to stand and face wrongdoing, speak against wrongdoing, where there is abuse, where there is mistreatment, where people are taking advantage of others. The man must show his mettle. So when we say, show yourself a man, you must be lion. You must roar at wrongdoing.
You must roar.
Now, the man as a lamb is a person of compassion, a person who shows care, a person who is considerate. So you see, they look like they are oxymoron or contrasts, but they are not. They can work hand in hand. So when I'm home, I roar at wrongdoing that is about to hit my family. When something is coming to my wife and it's dangerous, I have to step forward as a man. like Christ, to lay your life down to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Wow.
But when you are relating with the people around you, your wife, your children, your colleagues in the church, you must be caring, you must be compassionate, you must be considerate. Otherwise, you become crude and cruel.
Yeah.
And we have seen a lot of men who exhibit crudity and cruelty. And crudity has to do with people acting brash and vain and doing all those kinds of things. And we have seen persons who are cruel, where they are callous. They are mistreating people. They are shooting their spouses. They are beating them into pulp, hitting them in the face, kicking them in the groin, some pouring acid and stuff, all kinds of things on them. Why? Because it's the cruelty and crudity that is working hand in hand. And that is something we need to work on. And that's why I'm a strong advocate to the women being measured in how they relate to the men. Because you see, the average woman that I have seen who has a man in her life is relating with the man in the man. It's a very interesting phenomenon. If you study masculinity and manhood and all that, you see that there is a man trait in the man. That man trait is a fighter. He never loses a battle.
Okay.
He will say, bring it on. They would fight tooth and nail. And they will not stand losing a battle. Those are the ones who will not attempt anything because they know they will not succeed. They won't touch it. Typically those men. But there is something that the slave queens have noticed. You know, I worked in the university for 15 years, and I dealt with students.
Pentecost University, yeah.
Yes, I dealt with, and even there I was talking to students in different campuses. In fact, the coming week I'll be at UPSA to address them. I'm going back to campuses to engage students. Okay. Because I realized I've been out of campus for a while, and there are a lot of things that are happening there that God must give us grace and insight to speak to. So we're starting off with UPSA, with students learning and addictions. And I'm going to talk to them about how to lead yourself as a person. It's called personal leadership. But I do it in a different way because I dealt with students. And these young ladies will sit in front of me.
The slave queens.
Yeah, the slave queens. And they'll show me how they get the men. And they don't fight the men because they focus on the boy tendency in the man.
Oh.
In every growing boy, there's a man emerging.
In every growing boy,
there's a man emerging. Because you see, the boy is growing with some ideals of what he wants to become. So he has a picture of a man he wants to be like. So I always tell the men that you are either a warning or an example.
Yeah, either
a warning or an example. Because when a boy looks at you, it's either you are deterring him or you are attracting him.
He wants to emulate you.
Exactly. And these slave queens, they focus on the boy tendencies in the man.
They tap into it.
Which their wives and lovers don't care about.
Oh.
Because they take it for granted.
Yeah.
But the boy tendency in the man is what makes him vulnerable.
Wow. No, let's go on a commercial break. This is deep knowledge.
The Spotlight Show.
Viewers and listeners, welcome back from the commercial break. I am Daniela, your host, and my guest, Amos Kelvin Annan. So you see, there's so much noise about Valentine. And I don't know what to say. And people are using music to sway the hearts and the minds of both the men and the women. Even including games. So what do you say about that?
Well, you know, years ago in the 90s, I used to go to secondary schools to show them a movie. And it was titled The Dangers of Rock Music.
The Dangers of Rock
Music.
Okay.
I got it from a group known as Real to Real Ministries. You know, the real is the the film role, the reel to reel ministries. Now, years later came what J. Craig Lewis has been doing, Dangers Behind Hip Hop. If you know about the Truth Behind Hip Hop series.
Yeah.
Yes. Then he also started doing those. And many times I show it to students and they wonder the power of music.
Please say that again.
You see, we take music and its power or potency for granted.
Very, very much for granted.
One Chinese philosopher once said that you can transform, I'm just paraphrasing, it's a long quote. You can transform the manners and character of people through music. And they would not even notice that they are changing. Now, for those who doubt the power and the potency of music, who are Ghanaians, just watch. Years ago, girls were not being sent to school. A lot of thought, a lot of research, several studies were done. And just from Beijing, there was the introduction of the advocacy to get girls to be sent to school. So they came up with the music. Peace. Send your girl child to school. Send your girl child to school. Look, there was not a single day was not played on radio or television at the time. And we didn't have the plethora of radio stations we have now, in Ghana at least. Before long, people were taking their girls to school, singing that song, and not realizing it.
The power of music.
The power of music. Again, I'll show people during President Kufuor's time. The money we have now, they needed to knock off some zeros. And we have a history of during the heydays of the revolution, people's monies were taken, 50 CD notes, and it never got back to them. And so people were quite apprehensive that they may be shortchanged. So what did they do? Again, they sat down, they thought through, they realized music again could do the deal. They came up with a song, the new Ghana CD, the value is the same. The value is the same. Look at the language. The new Ghana CD, the value is the same. So what was being done was that they were trying to use what we call persuasive communication. They were getting you to reason alongside that you don't have to be worried. The money that they are bringing, the value. So that's where they started saying Ghana CD, 1 CD is equal to $1.
$1.
And Ghanaians were very excited. Oh, 1 CD to $1, 1 CD to $1. Is that the same story? No, it's not. People have picked it. The reason why music is also powerful, you can see it. You look through. When a child is born, we sing.
Yeah.
When we go to events and we win, we sing. When we lose, we sing. When a human being dies, we sing. So our whole life is around songs and music. Now, the enemy knows that it's a subtle way of getting people to fall in line without thinking.
Subtle way to fall in line without thinking.
And hardly would you protest when it's a song. Look, I have seen people, Christians, who are singing songs that the lyrical content is so base that you'll be shocked that the Christian is the one singing it. And they don't realize that they sing it. But somebody brings it to that and says, hey, is that what is in the lyrics?
Sometimes people listen to songs because of the beats. They don't take time to actually listen.
But it's more than a beat.
It's more than the beats.
There are some of them even do incantations. I remember those days, reel to reel, they have the reversal mode of music where they reverse the music to play slowly. Yes. And then you can,
if you want to really understand some songs, just try to read the lyrics backwards.
Yes. It was scary. And now we live in a place where there's a lot of satanism and secret societies who have crept into the music space, the creative arts in general. So there are individuals who not openly say, I'm Satanist, but the song that they are playing or putting together is actually going to water down your belief system or undermine your belief system. So our young people, you watch, there's nothing as powerful as determining a person's morals like music.
Can you please say that again?
No. As your music goes, so would your morals be. So if you want to change your morals, watch the music you listen to. You know, it's pathetic how sometimes people downplay. I always ask people, they downplay, oh, this song is full of wisdom, this artist is wise, is knowledgeable, is this. Some say he's a thinker, he's a philosopher. Of course, muse, the word muse is musing. Musing. And people muse around things. And so people are philosophizing. And so a particular song is about death because the author or the writer or the person who received the song or who curated the song has had an experience with death.
Yeah.
And they have to speak about death. Some have had experiences with broken situations of love, marriage, relationship, betrayal by friends, loss of job and something. And then they craft song around the theme.
Yeah.
You haven't had that experience. And yet because you idolize that artist, you sing along because you like it. And these persons also have managers who curate their personality. I remember one time I was in the studio with one famous musician in Ghana here. And he was making the rounds. He was doing something for president. And I met him in the studio. And we're talking about young people. And I said to him, can you tell the young people listening to our conversation, because in the studio he looks very nice, neat, and all that, well dressed up. But on stage he dresses different. So I said to him, can you please tell the young people that you have two lives? Because every musician, every person in the silver screen space has two lives. They have their private life and they have their showbiz life. Unfortunately, what you see on the screens is a showbiz life. So somebody takes a certain brand of dressing by dropping his pants. But when you see him in regular life, he's very business oriented and business like. Unfortunately, the young people who are watching, they pick the showbiz. You know, and they have also taken to themselves what they call celebrity. So it's a life you celebrate, a life you honor, a life you admire, you revere this life. So you don't question what they do. And many of them now, especially in Ghana here, a lot of them are veering off into ancient Egyptian worship. The sun god, the Osiris, you know, so you see them using the pentagram, they do all those kinds of things. So you watch around. And these persons have become very influential. Why? Because they bought our loyalty at no cost.
Listening to their songs.
Yeah. So we patronize the songs. So I always ask Christians, why is that when you come to church, you don't use, say, Konkonti Bar for worship? You don't sing ESMO. But in your car, you're playing it. Meanwhile, God doesn't dwell in temples built with hands.
Good.
God now dwells in temples God himself built. And what temple has God built? It is you. That's why Paul says you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So if you can't sing it in the meeting place, you cannot sing it in the temple.
Profound.
No.
You cannot sing it in the
It's as simple as that.
You can't sing it in the temple.
No.
Or as you knowing you can't sing it in the temple, you can't sing it to yourself.
No. Because what is it glorifying? What is the object of the song? I remember when Whitney Houston was alive, and a lot of my friends would talk about Whitney. You know, I grew up with Michael Jackson and all that, and Mr. Groove and all those things. And my friends would be so fascinated. I'm not moved. When we went to secondary school, they said entertainment was compulsory.
Yeah.
And we developed a statement in our head. Those of us radical scripture young boys, we said to ourselves, yes, entertainment is compulsory, but dancing is not compulsory. So when we, the SU boys in Kufrida Sekek, went to entertainment, we just stood there. You can't compel us to dance. Because you see, the moment you put in a gospel song, you hear all the guy, oh. Now the question is, why are they resenting the gospel?
I mean, this time, okay, in this era, gospel music has changed because there's some bit of funkiness and all that. But way back in the past, it was a bit dull. So they couldn't actually dance to that kind of groove that you were looking for as compared to the other songs.
But you see, even then, there were other gospel songs that had the same groove.
Yes.
They are not in the multiplicity of what we see right now. The painful thing right now is that you're having people who say they are singing gospel. You see, when you are singing gospel, you can't sing gospel until the gospel has actually permeated your heart. Because the gospel leads to transformed life.
Yes.
It is that transformed life that becomes a testimonial through which you are singing. But today you have even persons who don't have the gospel and they are writing the content of the gospel song. That is something that those who are Christian musicians would have to chew the cud on.
Now AI is even doing music.
Yeah. I mean, I remember going somewhere and I did presentations and one bishop asked me, do you use AI for your slides? And I said, well, AI doesn't have Holy Spirit. And the man looked at me and said, wow, nobody has told me this. I said, yeah, AI doesn't have Holy Spirit. It's somebody who has created an algorithm that is interfacing with you. It doesn't have the spirit of discernment, doesn't have word of knowledge, doesn't have word of wisdom. It's somebody's...
It's being fed.
Oh.
It's being fed.
I have people here who are doing what they call trending. They are managing the social media spaces here for all these, platforms.
Yeah.
And so I hear them, they say, this one is trendy. I ask them, who makes it trend? And they're all quiet. Because what trends is engineered by somebody. Because they want a special feed to go out.
Yeah.
So we need people with discernment as they use these modern day tools. Otherwise, look, you've read about how AI is misleading people in chat boxes, committing suicide.
People are dating their AI.
People are dating AI as though they are human beings because there's a certain falsity that has been created. And you see, our biggest fear as people is isolation. And our deepest longing is connection.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of being isolated and we are craving to connect, we become vulnerable, susceptible to these kinds of things. And that's where things like gaming, betting, and all these things are taking the center stage. I played football. At the time we were playing football, there used to be what they call polls from the UK. People were betting on polls and jockeys and football and all that. But today, the betting we have is different. They are betting on corners. They are betting on red flags. They are betting on yellow flags. They are betting on all sorts of things. Throw in, first throw in, second throw in, third throw in. Who is going to score the first goal? Who is going to have an offside? And the boys are just there. Yeah. Because the people who created these things don't want you to quit. So you see, if you know a bit about addiction is such that before the compulsive urge comes on you, the thing that you tasted, the effect it had on you, you need more to get the first effect. And that holds people. So for instance, if this is alcohol, and I drink a full bottle of this alcohol, its impact on me and the way I feel, the bravado and all those things that I get from one bottle. The next time I need to take like two or three to get that first effect. It's the same thing with sex and all those things. You ask the young people, your first sex experience, you needed more sex to get the same experience.
Very true. Very, very true.
So That's why we need to be hungry for the word of God. Unfortunately, we don't take these things to the word of God.
Elder, you see, you spoke about betting in terms of boys betting, but do you know that Valentine's Day, guys are going to bet on girls?
Oh, no, I know. I mean, because the theory is this. I mean, if you got a girl, you got a game, and the game is such that you never have to miss it. So you've got to win at all costs. So some guys will hit on girls. And in the late 90s, where I did a lot of teenage work, some of my boys will come and share how their friends will tell them that I'll hit on this girl and I'll get her to bed. And the other will say, let's bet.
Yeah, they do.
And because of that bet that they have, he's so provoked that he'll go heaven and hell to get it. And because men generally boast about their conquest. You see, men are driven by the ability to conquer.
Yeah.
That's why men sometimes don't see danger, because they are not wired to be worried about danger. They are wired to brave their way through the odds. So men operate like a bull. When a bull is grazing and hears the sound of a tractor or caterpillar, it never lifts its head. The tractor or caterpillar can come very close to them before they start moving. Even that, you see them still standing.
The Spotlight Show.